Tonight, as you fall asleep, something will come to visit you. You won't look for it. You won't summon it. It will simply appear. For us, that's just a dream. For the ancient Mesopotamians, that sentence was not a figure of speech. It was a technical description of what happens during sleep. In Mesopotamia, nobody had a dream. They saw one. The Akkadian term Tabrit Mushi means literally vision of the night. The dreamer created nothing. They were a passive receiver before an external spectacle that could be staged by gods, demons, or something in between. What mattered was not what you had dreamed, it was who had sent it. That distinction changed everything. Modern specialists, following the classification of archaeologist Leo Oppenheim, divide Mesopotamian dreams into three categories. The first are message dreams, direct revelation from a deity or their messenger. Their content is clear, their form recognizable. A figure of supernatural beauty appears at the sleeper bedside, delivers a command, and the dreamer wakes abruptly. They require no interpretation, they are orders. The second category is symbolic or allegorical dreams. Enigmatic images that conceal the meaning behind metaphors and analogies. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the hero dreams of meteorites and axes falling from the sky. These are not direct omens, but riddles that an expert must decode through a technical process called pasharo, which does not simply mean to interpret, but to dissolve, to loosen, to entangle. And an interpreted symbolic dream was like an unopened letter. It maintained a malign pressure on the receiver until an expert managed to resolve it. The third category is symptomatic dreams. These carry no prophetic value. They reflect the physical or ritual state of the dreamer. A good dream indicates harmony with one's personal deity. A nightmare indicates divine abandonment, witchcraft, or the presence of demons. They do not reveal the future, they diagnose the present. Stay until the end. We've put together a quick test to find out which Mesopotamian method you would use to get through a crisis. Later scholars such as Sally Butler have refined this classification, proposing a fourth intermediate category, symbolic message dreams, in which divine will is indirect but intentional. The debate over the boundaries between categories remains open, particularly regarding royal text. When a king records a dream, is he documenting a genuine mystical experience or producing a political document? That tension between the sacred and the political is one of the more revealing aspects of Mesopotamian oniromancy. Message dreams were almost exclusively the privilege of kings and priests. The king was the god's privileged interlocutor, and the dreams he received legitimized his decisions before the court and before history. The most sophisticated case is that of Nabonidus, the last king of Babylon, who not only recorded nocturnal visions to justify his religious reform, but described a dream within a dream, in which the deceased Nebuchadnezzar II appeared as the interpreter of a planetary conjunction. The sources consider this kind of nest dream to carry maximum credibility. The monarch had not merely dreamed, he had dreamed of someone who was dreaming. Ashurbanipal went further. His annals describe how, before crossing the swollen river during a military campaign, the god Ishtar appeared in dreams to his entire army simultaneously to encourage them. Not just one warrior, the entire army. The collective dream as an instrument of military cohesion and public legitimization. For monarchs with a weak dynastic claim, the dream was especially useful. Hattusili III, the Hittite king who came to power through usurpation, built much of his legitimacy on the narration of dreams in which the god Ishtar ordered him to act. The dream did not only justify what he had done, it explained what he had had no other choice. The Mari Archives, one of the richest epistolary collections from the 2nd millennium BC, revealed the administrative dimension of the dream. When a provincial governor, a priest, or a private individual received a dream with political implications, they were obliged to report it to their superiors by letter. These messages were treated with the same seriousness as reports of troop movements or oracular consultations. But dreams could be falsified, which forced the system to develop authentication mechanisms. Seers who reported significant dreams were required to deliver a lock of their hair and a fringe of their garment. Physical objects that committed the informant ritually. If the dream proved false or manipulated, those objects could be used in rituals of accountability or punishment. A seer who lied about a dream was not merely committing administrative fraud, they were committing sacrilege. There is also an unresolved academic debate over whether it was possible to dream on commission. Certain letters from the archive include phrases such as, "I saw a dream in your name." Some researchers read this as evidence that intermediaries exist who sought divine revelation on behalf of others. Other specialists considered it simply an idiomatic expression. The central technical instrument of Mesopotamian oniromancy was the dream book, known in Akkadian and Ishkar-Sakiku, the series of Sakiku. A compendium of at least 11 clay tablets, preserved in its most complete form in the library of Ashurbanipal at Nineveh, with roots stretching back to the Old Babylonian period around 1700 BC. Its structure is casuistic and rigorous. Each entry follows the same pattern. If a man sees himself in a dream, followed by the oniric contact and the verdict. The compendium catalogs hundreds of omens organized by thematic categories, physiological acts such as eating, drinking, or urinating, social and professional roles, cosmic journeys to the sky or the underworld, encounter with animals, or transformations of the dreamer's own body. The hermeneutical principles ordering these interpretations are not arbitrary. The most frequent is paranomasia, wordplay. Dreaming of eating a crow, Arbu in Akkadian, predicts the arrival of income, Irbu. The phonetic resemblance between the object of the dream and the predicted event is not a linguistic accident. The name of things captures their essence, and this essence can be transferred through sound. A second principle is inversion. An action that in waking life would be a social taboo may produce a favorable omen in a dream. Descending to the underworld can predict a long life. Ascending to the sky can be an ill omen. The logic of the night is not the logic of the day. The compendium also stratifies interpretations according to the dreamer's social status. The same dream can carry a different meaning for a poor man than for a person of importance. The social hierarchy of waking life reproduces itself in the prophetic hierarchy of the night. Oppenheim considered oniromancy to occupy a lower rank in the Mesopotamian divinatory hierarchy, subordinate to ecdyspesy or astrology. Butler and later research have questioned that reading. The fact that the dream book was copied continuously for centuries, that it featured in the most important royal libraries, and that its rituals were carried out by the exorcist, the highest ranking specialist of Neo-Assyrian period, suggests a far deeper integration into religious life than Oppenheimer knowledge. A negative dream required immediate intervention. The rituals for neutralizing its effects form part of the Namburbi genre, rituals for undoing evil. An uninterpreted dream was not simply an unresolved mystery. It was an active miasma, a contamination that adhered to the dreamer and projected its consequences onto the life until someone dissolved it. The expert did not explain the dream, they untied it. The most common neutralization technique was substitutive magic. The dreamer wrapped a cloth of earth over the body to absorb the miasma, recounted the dream to the cloth, and then dissolved it in water. The evil dissolved with it. Other variants included clay pellets thrown at crossroads, or reeds burned while the dreamer blew over the flames to expel the contamination. One ritual detail is especially telling. Many of these purification acts had to be performed before setting foot on the ground. The space between sleep and waking was liminal, and at that threshold, the evil was easier to intercept. Once the dreamer touched the floor, the day had begun, and the evil had consolidated. The dream world was also an inhabited world. Mamo was the personification of the favorable dream, positioned in the retinue of the sun god Shamash. Ansagar acted as messenger of major deities such as Sin or Marduk. And Sakiku, the god who gives his name to the dream book, was an entity of ambivalent nature, a light breath, a priest that slipped through cracks to visit the sleeper, associated both with dreamers' revelation and with the world of the dead and the ghost. The academic debate over whether Sakiku was a protective deity or a demonic force has not been resolved. Oppenheim tended to see him in his darker aspect. Balla, for her part, points out that the existence of the temple dedicated to Mamwat at Balawat, built by Ashurnasirpal II, demonstrate that the gods of the dream also receive cult as sources of legitimate and favorable revelation. That was the dream in Mesopotamia, not a product of the mind, but an objective notification from destiny, sent from outside, received in silence, managed with the same technical precision as a legal contract or a military campaign. A letter from the cosmos that the sleeper had not requested and was nonetheless obliged to read. Before you go, here's a quick test to find out which Mesopotamian method you would use to get through a crisis. You sense a bad omen closing in. What do? A. Transfer it to an object and get rid of it. B. Purify myself immediately. C. Wait for an answer in my dreams. When do you prefer to face a serious problem? A. When I can act with my hands. B. Before it touches reality. C. At night, in silence. Which element gives you the strongest sense of protection? A. Mud or clay. B. Water and oil. C. A temple. After getting through a crisis, you want to feel A. Released. B. Clean. C. Guided. If you answer mostly A, you favor the method of substitution. You transfer the problem to an external object and eliminate it symbolically. For you, evil is something that can be moved, broken, or dissolved. If your answers were mostly B, you go for the method of purification. You act fast to clear the disorder before it takes hold in reality. Your response is immediate and practical. If you choose C for most questions, you prefer the method of incubation. You withdraw, seek silence, and wait for a clear vision before acting. You trust that the answer will come when the time is right. I got purification. What about you? Tell us in the comments. If you got incubation, you might enjoy our video on dreams in ancient Egypt, where sleeping in a temple could bring direct answers from the gods.